So, depending on how you found this podcast, you may have come into this show thinking that we were really big fans of Dolly Parton and Julia Roberts and the entire cast of the classic film Steel Magnolias, which is true. However, this show explores much more than just a film. But we did realize that since this is such an iconic film, that is our namesake, we should take the time and re-release one of our very, very early episodes where we dive in to both the theatrical and the film Steel Magnolias. Yes, it was indeed based on a theatrical play written and inspired by a true story. So we hope you enjoy this conversation. It is indeed the first time that we publicly cried on our podcast. You can share, connect, and support this show in a variety of ways. Text a friend and make sure they have a link to the show. You can share on your Facebook or Instagram, whichever one you prefer. And you can financially support us by visiting the link in our show notes or steelmagnoliaspodcast.com. So get ready and enjoy Steel Magnolias. I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth.
And we are Steel Magnolias. The strength of steel
with the grace of a magnolia.
We are here to have uplifting conversations about life in the South.
And we've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
So you tell us, Lainey, you got to hear actually an interview.
I did. Yeah, it's been a little while for me, but Robert Harling is the person who wrote this play.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a true story, or based on a true story of his sister's life. So it was very moving hearing this interview. It was by Garden and Gun magazine. And they did an actual print story, but there was an interview that we got to hear some of the audio of.
I love hearing someone's voice. So even if, like, the fact that you're even saying, yeah, I would have enjoyed the article, but I listened to it as well because you told me about it.
Enjoyed hearing the voice.
It's fun to hear someone's voice. So
yeah,
that's the very first episode of Garden and Gun's Whole Hog
podcast. And they don't do theirs super often.
No.
So
it should be easy to find. Just look for the very first and second episode, actually. They did a 2-part series.
Yeah, it was because it was broken up. That's right. Well, I was moved big time by this interview because he shared why he wrote this story.
Mm-hmm.
So his sister, whose name was Susan.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. You told me that. His sister Susan was diagnosed with diabetes at a young age. Mm-hmm. And was just this personality type of you couldn't keep her down. You couldn't tell her no. She wasn't supposed to do something. I remember him sharing a story that she was a majorette, which is a big deal in a lot of southern states. They grew up in Louisiana.
Yes.
Natchitoches.
Yeah, it's Natchitoches or something is how you would want to say it because it's very hard to pronounce.
Natchitoches, Louisiana. And so, she was a majorette and was not supposed to be, sweating that much in the hot sun out doing that activity because of her diabetes. Yeah. So she would have candy in her pockets while she was doing that.
Regulate her insulin and march on.
Yeah, literally.
If that's not a Steel Magnolia, I don't know what is.
Seriously. So anyway, from a young age, she had just not been able, you couldn't tell her no. So when she was told by her doctors that it would not be a good idea to have children, it would be too hard on her body.
Yeah.
She just wouldn't hear it because she wanted a baby. And this is the true story of what happened to her. So again, spoiler alert. But what was so moving for me in hearing that interview was he said that he in fact had this nephew.
Yeah,
because she had a little boy. And I think he was 2 when she died,
or almost 2.
Almost 2, which is yeah. Anyhow.
That's my son's age, so that's...
No, this is another reason this was so moving for me.
Yeah.
So, in real life, his this author's brother-in-law, or his sister's husband, got married shortly after her death from... So, like, I think you said 5 months.
I think it was like 5 months, yeah.
So, he had remarried, and this author was saying, you know, she was a nice woman. It had nothing to do with that, but he heard his little nephew call her mama. Mm. And it just brought up a lot of emotion in him and anger in him, because he knew how much his mom loved this baby and how hard she had worked, you know, to even have him.
Right.
And he incorporates a line that he actually said by giving it a line in the play later, but he said, I just wanted him to know how much his mom loved him.
Yeah.
And so, anyhow, that caused him to have a lot of emotion. And in talking to some of his friends who were, I believe, playwrights.
Yes, I do think this was like a little actor's circle.
Yeah, a friend.
Playwright circle.
They were like, you need to write this story for this boy to know this. So he puts pen to paper to start to write what he thought was going to be a short story for this boy. And he was having a hard time writing a short story for a couple of reasons. One, he had a history of being an actor.
Yeah.
And just was more used to a script.
Sure, yeah.
And also, he said, as he was trying to write it as a short story, he was realizing there was so much good dialogue that my mom and her friends had, and it's not coming through.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to just write this as what I know as scripted.
Yeah.
As
in the form of a play.
And that's what came out.
And so that whole story, the play itself, lives in the setting of the beauty shop. So,
the entire thing is at Truvy's beauty salon.
So we got to see that a couple of weeks ago here locally, and I would say if it comes near you, definitely go see it. It's fantastic to get to see what actors can do in the setting of the beauty shop.
Unbelievable.
Because in my mind, when we were going to see it, I was like, how can you fit everything, all the multiple scenes that I know of from the movie? How can you keep that all contained in one beauty shop? And it's very interesting.
It is.
And well done.
Because I know I saw the movie first.
Yeah.
You know, because I remember seeing this in the theater and having a very emotional experience, seeing it with my mom and Miss Campbell. And yeah, it was just a very emotional experience for me, because I, at that age, was having some seizures.
Yeah. So you're 19 years old and in that place. Yeah.
And so that was a very emotional experience for me. And so then when I saw the play for the first time, I was trying to remember what year I saw the play. I want to say it was circa 2000.
Okay.
When I saw it the first time, I told you, in Montgomery, Alabama. I thought, there's no way they're going to be able to do this well just doing it in a beauty shop.
It seems so limiting.
It's going to be so limiting, but it was not.
It wasn't.
So good.
You're right.
And that brought back, when we just saw it, I thought, wow, this really is interesting that you can know things are going on in other places from their dialogue in the beauty shop.
Yeah.
And we had that whole episode on beauty shops where we talked about...
I was thinking about the same thing.
Just the life that happens in those, especially, you know, in a home or something like that. Yeah. Just the great community that happens there.
Friendships that form.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well, the play premiered in 1987 at WPA Theater, New York City. And it was just about 6 months later that the swirl of activity started happening to move it from play to movie.
Okay.
So you were going to mention, casting-wise, one of the interesting things that we've come across. And, of course, I just also want to say, we're not the end-all, know-all of Steel Magnolias trivia.
Oh, Lord, no.
We just love it, and we did do a little research to bring up some fun facts that may be unknown today, but...
Well, again, from the Garden and Gun interview was where I had heard this piece that I thought was so interesting. They wanted Meg Ryan for the lead role of Shelby.
Okay. So that would be Shelby was the name of the character that was Robert's sister, the playwright.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is played by Julia Roberts.
Right.
But,
Originally
they had cast Meg Ryan. Now, they had already cast the entire main cast.
Mm-hmm. Originally, it was Winona Ryder that was going to be the lead, but then the producers were like, she's just too young.
Okay.
So that's interesting to me, because she is, like, to me, indie rocker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's not even, like, she's Reality Bites.
She is so Reality Bites.
So I can't even fathom her.
And Joe. I mean, she's Joe to me.
In this setting. Yeah, Little Women.
From Little Women.
I can't even fathom her dark short hair in the middle.
Skin.
Yes. Anyway.
But Meg Ryan, when I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, no, she is not Shelby. She is not Southern. That's not right. And I love Meg Ryan.
Well, did you mention why?
So I haven't mentioned, but this is what is so amazing. So we've just said this is the 30-year anniversary of the film. Well, she ended up turning this role down after saying she would do it because she was cast as the lead for When Harry Met Sally, which is
little known film.
Little known film that nobody else could have played that.
No, there's no way.
There's no way there could be a different Sally, and to me, there's no way.
Well, and what I had read in Southern Living was that she was looking for a lead role, because although we're kind of calling Shelby in Steel Magnolias the lead, there's a lot of leads
because it's an epic
she was
cast.
actually considered supporting actress. Like, she's the only one that won an Oscar,
right.
And it was for a supporting actress role.
Yeah.
So I can see why Meg also
was
just from a career standpoint wanting something.
I need the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she is Sally.
What a good move
Shelby.
for both of them.
I know. And so both of these movies turning 30, it just blows my mind because they were both so impactful on me.
Yeah.
So
talk about what you had heard about Julia coming in for an audition. Because I had read that she actually was going to audition, but was working on Mystic Pizza at the time of auditions. So she couldn't come to the auditions because she was still rapping.
And so they thought that they had landed. And then later let's try and bring that girl in from Mystic Pizza.
Yeah. Eric Roberts' sister.
Yeah. And so here she comes in, and Robert Harling, that had written the play, said as soon as she smiled, I knew that was my sister. That was who was supposed to play my sister.
Yeah. She flashed that smile, and he said, that's my sister.
Yeah. And she's Southern.
Yeah, she's from Smyrna, Georgia.
So it just, to me, fits.
Yeah.
I think she was perfect for that role. But I think every person that they cast was so perfect for their role.
Oh, I do too.
It's amazing.
I absolutely do. So the other actresses, there's the six characters from a female standpoint. So there's tons of men in the
supports,
in the movie that make an impact as well, but
that are also really good.
Absolutely.
Tom Skerritt was awesome as Sally
Sam
Field's
Shepard.
husband. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the six ladies, we have Annelle, played by Daryl Hannah, Truvy, played by Dolly Parton, Malin is played by Sally Field, that's Shelby's mom, Clary is played by Olympia Dukakis, and Weezer is played by Shirley MacLaine, and as we've just mentioned, Shelby was casted to be played by Julia Roberts. So the opening, let me mention one other thing before we jump into openings and scene by scene. One other fun fact of the role of Shelby, when Nicole Kidman was starting out in acting in Sydney, Australia, one of her earliest roles was playing Shelby on stage.
That's funny.
She played Shelby.
That is really funny. I can't see it, but she,
But now she's a Southerner.
That
true. Just cracks me up. Now I would kind of like to see her do it again. Not that I don't know. Do you think she even tried to give it a Southern accent?
I don't know.
That seems like that would be a struggle.
Yeah, it does.
How did you feel about the accents? Because I've heard people kind of go up and down on how they thought the accents of the actresses.
Well, it's been a long time. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I haven't really analyzed that. I don't remember
I think anytime
Clary was pretty good, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah.
She was good.
Dolly's Dolly.
Dolly's Dolly. She just had to be Dolly.
There really was no acting there. Yeah,
Sally Field was fairly neutral, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
I remember her. She sounded Indiana.
Yeah, there you go. I thought Shelby, I thought Julia Roberts was a little dramatic, but I just think that's her character.
Yeah.
Some of the
character's
long-drawn,
dramatic.
My wedding's gonna be the best.
My colors are blush and bashful.
Yeah,
real
those
slow
sorts of things.
and yeah.
So one other fun fact about that time period before all of the casting was set in place for the movie, but the word was out on how good this play production is. It's kind of these New York circles of people talking. So Elizabeth Taylor went to see Steel Magnolias during its off-Broadway run, which that's where it was, and gave it a rave review, calls up Bette Davis. Have you heard this story?
No.
Okay. And Robert Harling, which is the playwright. Bette Davis is starting to, push to be cast in the role of Weezer.
Oh.
So, Elizabeth Taylor is like, hey, you need to know about this, Bette Davis. So Bette Davis is now calling the playwright. And she also thought Katharine Hepburn would make a fantastic Clary, and Elizabeth Taylor would be perfect as Truby. They've got the whole little circle of friends.
That's hilarious.
That they're thinking of casting themselves. So Harling later told some sort of journalist she was trying to convince him she was right for the role, and when he left, she told him, you may give the role of Weezer to someone else, but you and they will both hear from Bette Davis.
Wow. And she was like that. In fact, I remember David Letterman saying that he had never been so uncomfortable, squirming with a guest as Bette Davis.
Really?
She was intimidating.
So the role, of course, went to Shirley MacLaine, as we mentioned, and no word on whether Davis gave Harling an earful.
Very interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So we mentioned that the movie starts on Easter. There's actually holidays that line up with every single event. There's a Christmas festival, and there's an October wedding or Halloween wedding shower. I mean, there's
it
for
was
a 2-year
Halloween.
period.
Her little boy was dressed as it was Halloween
clown.
the night.
I know.
She collapsed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it opens with a beautiful spring day in Natchitoches, Louisiana. And they are setting up for a wedding at the home of, should we say Julia Roberts or should we say Shelby? I'm kind of toying with whether to.
Shelby.
Okay,
she's Shelby.
At Shelby's home, and a good old Southern wedding is happening at the church, and then reception back at the house, and everything from broken champagne glasses to birds that are a nuisance in the tree that Shelby's dad is firing at. So it's just really a fun, chaotic scene. But then we move to the beauty shop where, of course, you're starting to now meet characters. They're dialoguing with each other. You're starting to see some personalities.
Interactions between one another. And
Weezer has so many one-liners in her opening dialogue. I couldn't even write them all down. I've seen all of them on a t-shirt or, on a greeting card or something. In fact, Robert Harling said when he was writing about all of these women and writing the lines, he said they all love one-liners and they talk like bumper stickers.
That's hilarious.
And they do.
Now, I remember him telling a story about one of the famous lines that Shirley MacLaine has in the play that he literally added backstage the first night it was going on.
Yeah.
Do you remember that story?
I do, because the actors were confused because they thought it was a drama and it was coming across as a comedy.
Well, at one point, the actor that was playing Weezer said, Weezer would not just stay quiet in this moment. She has to have a comeback.
Yeah.
And he, at the last minute, wrote in.
Well, first, before you say that, Mei Lin had said to Weezer, come down to the guidance counseling center.
Yeah.
If you're really feeling that way about things, you should talk to somebody. So she's encouraging her to come down and get some counseling for all the things that she's complaining about.
Her line, I don't have it written down here, but it's something about...
I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy. I've just been in a bad mood for 40 years.
So that was the line that he came up with backstage.
Yeah, but that should be her response.
And that's crazy, too, because, I mean, I've never even been an actor, but I get that when you're so immersed in a character, like you are trying to become that character, and you recognize things like my character would stand there and just be like, oh, yeah, the good advice.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
So yeah, that actor recognized she would need not only a comeback, but like a feisty
really
one.
Feisty, funny one.
Yeah.
And that one stands out to a lot of people as a favorite.
It does. So, beautiful wedding. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, because I was about to move past it, but...
It was, when you say beautiful, it makes me laugh, though, because it was beautiful in the 80s.
Sure.
Now, when I look back on it's actually
ridiculous.
Quite tacky.
Well, and they even say that in the movie. I mean, the mom is kind of joking that the whole church has been covered in Pepto-Bismol.
Because she's so into pink. It's her signature color,
yes,
as she says. So, but yeah, the dresses, I mean... Big. Did all the bridesmaids wear pink hats?
Yes, they all had pink hats on.
It was very...
You remembered that one well.
I remember that. But it was very Southern. She had a dozen bridesmaids. I don't know how many, but it seemed like a dozen. Which that's, especially, what is she, 21 getting married? Mm-hmm. At that age,
that happens.
In the South, you want everybody up there. Mm-hmm. I used to think that's what I would have.
Mm-hmm.
I knew... 12 people I'd want up
you'd
there.
have to cut at that age. Cut
and
friends.
So, yeah. And I probably would have wanted big shoulders in my dress and things like that. So a lot of that's changed with age and what I would want now. But that's kind of funny because it was quite beautiful and fairy tale.
Oh, yeah.
But very over the top.
Yeah. Well, and then, of course, one of the most favorite things about the reception, there's two things. You loved a little part that I'll let you tell, but the groom's cake being armadillo,
yes,
red velvet cake, and they talk about hacking into it and it being the most disgusting thing. Yeah.
But there's some funny groom's cakes out there.
There are.
Like all different themes and
I feel like, is that a Southern thing too? Like, would the groom's cake be more playful at a Southern wedding?
That's a good question. We should have people give us feedback. I see a lot of sports team ones, and you see a lot of different funny things like that.
Yeah.
Where it's real playful, not just a chocolate.
We did a Jeep, because my husband loves Jeeps. I've seen a lot of SEC teams.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if if Northern weddings would keep it more tame.
Yeah.
Or if they even do a groom's cake. I mean, I'm sure they do, but anyway. And then you love that scene of Clary and Truvy.
Oh, I just think it's a funny scene where this is the mayor's wife, I think, is dancing on the...
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Yes, that's probably another reason why they don't like her, is because Clary's the former mayor's wife.
Right, so they don't like this new lady, and she's out there dancing in a very tight dress. And there's a line, and I don't have it written down to quote it per se, but she says something along the lines of, it looks like two pigs dancing fighting under a blanket. Yeah. Clary had some funny lines.
They all
do. They really do.
Good lines. It's so well written. Well, after the wedding, it moves pretty quickly to where we're set up with what the true conflict of the movie is, which is the problem that presents itself with Shelby has been told bearing children aren't a good idea for you because the toll it will take on your body. But as you mentioned earlier, the character this is based on was true to this as well. Like, that she wouldn't take that for an answer. So she does end up pregnant, and I think that's an interesting place where you really see the biggest rub between her and her mom. Mm-hmm. And
because her mom so loves her that she doesn't want her to be sicker.
Right. Yeah.
However,
she sees this as a decision that Shelby
that
can
could kill
avoid.
Her. Yeah.
A decision she could make and a place she could avoid.
Yeah.
This. So it's interesting to me. I'll go ahead and bring this up. When you see the play, it's just the 6 women. There are no men cast in the play production. So they have unique ways that they bring in the male characters, like a phone call coming into the beauty shop where it's, one of the guys, it's a husband, it's a brother. So you're understanding, and of course there's just the general retelling of things, dialogue that the women are sharing with one another.
About the
my
men
husband
in their
did
life.
this, But without actually having them present, you're only hearing the one side.
True.
So this was a place, this conflict that I just described was a place where I felt like you miss it in the play, because in the movie you get to see the way the mom really tries hard to talk to her new son-in-law. And you get to see, like, she's serious to talk to Jackson is his name.
Yeah.
And she does it even at the reception. They're doing a dance, and she says, promise me you'll think about it before you make any big decisions about family. And he totally brushes it off. I mean, I think she even restates it like a couple of times. So you don't get that in the play. Like you hear from Julia or from Shelby.
She's saying that to Shelby.
She's told Jackson about this, and that Jackson and her have talked about family. But you're not seeing, like they portray him in the movie, like him not taking it very seriously. So I don't know how true that was to his character, how he played it out in life. But anyway, that was just one of those moments where I was like, yeah, sometimes it's really needed to see both characters, to really see both sides of how they're, responding to life. Anyway, and yeah. And then also, just while we're on the topic of the lack of men, you don't get to see, without the men there, you don't get to see the humor between Weezer and Shelby's dad.
Oh my gosh.
The way they pick on each other
is awesome.
In the movie is absolutely amazing.
And they actually really love each other.
They do.
But it's hilarious, isn't it?
It's awesome. And then
I love Tom Skerritt anyway, so. Or
even the way, I mean, I know he's not in it very much, but even the way Weezer interacts with her, like that old friend Owen.
And isn't he quirky?
He's so quirky. But like the way she like talks to him, I mean, it's like I can appreciate her even more watching her. She's embarrassed. She's shocked. Deep down, she has insecurities.
Absolutely. I think that kind of came out, though, in the play.
You do?
I do. Like, because we just saw that recent. I thought that came out.
Yeah.
Where she was kind of wanting to talk about it that one day when she's in the beauty salon.
Yeah.
You could tell she kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit, but was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, she hurried out the door. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And Shelby was saying, oh, and by the way, Owen's going to be there too.
Yeah.
And she's like nervous and runs out the door. Like, I got the embarrassment of, I've been set in my ways for a long time, and now I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
Like, I got that part. But I know I
did
miss the part with her banter.
Oh my gosh.
With Shelby's dad.
I mean, it's so wonderful in so many ways. But
and it's like they feed off each other. Mm-hmm. Which I've had friends like that, where, like guy friends like that, where it's just fun to pick at each other.
Yeah. Agree. So, I wouldn't say, it's a total loss in seeing the play, but there's just certain dynamics where it's kind of unfair to not
have a little
see
bit
the
of
look
their
on a
perspective.
man's face or see how he's responding to some things, or even what he actually said to some incidences. So, but especially the conflict of, no, really, like, how much are you guys thinking about starting a family? So,
and we don't ever get to see how hard that might have been for Malin after, when she had moments with her grandson.
Right.
Can you imagine how she might have had some frustration of, I tried to talk to him, like, Shelby should be here because I tried to talk to him.
I thought about that, actually, after watching it again. I was just thinking, so I wonder what that relationship even looks like now. Because this is still their grandson, but he's been so far removed from being mothered by their daughter.
Right.
Yeah. but it's their grandson, so
Yeah.
it's tough.
That is tough. That child could have grandkids by now.
But
Well, no, could have kids, not grandkids, but
yeah.
wow.
But one of my favorite lines from Shelby, which is what we're basically describing here, is she says, I would rather have 30 minutes
of wonderful. I know. I would rather have 30 minutes of wonderful than a lifetime of nothing special. Crack. I had to, when we watched the play at the boiler room, at the pool tight, I had to turn all the way around from the person I was sitting next to because I heard like a crack coming in my cry. And I was embarrassed to cry like out loud in a setting of a play. But that is
I know, and that plays such a small playroom. Like, you're practically on the stage. So I'm like, I was the one on stage shaking in my chair. I was crying, trying to cry quietly. So it's, as you can tell from our crack of conversation here, it's such a moving production altogether.
So many good lines in this.
Do you have good lines or favorite scenes?
And again, these were just off my cuff. I didn't have, I was just trying to remember. And every character had good ones. That was the thing. But one of my favorite, I love Truvy says, laughing through tears is my favorite emotion.
That's a good one. That stood out to me.
Because it really is one of my favorite things.
I loved her line that, I haven't left the house without Lycra on my thighs since I was 14. And that actually pertains to the lady in the tight dress that they were commenting on. And
but she needed a girdle.
She needed a girdle. And,
they were making fun, kind of saying, I'm sure she paid a lot for that dress. She didn't take time to wear a girdle under it.
Yeah, Clary was actually commenting that was a good thing, that Truvy's been wearing a, Lycra on her thighs that long. She meant she was raised right.
These are the kinds of things that Southern women just wanted to look nice. It didn't matter if it was comfortable.
Right.
It was a matter of, did it look good?
Oh, we're at the end of Easter afternoon. I'm still uncomfortable. I'm still sitting here in my dress. So.
I'm at my house, so I was able to change clothes.
Yeah, I've changed out of my shoes, but my dress is still a little snug. Truvy also, of course, being the owner of the beauty shop, she says, I don't trust anyone that does their own hair. I don't think it's normal.
And didn't she have a line, too, that was like, she was saying to Annelle, oh, you did your own hair? I can usually tell a bottle job from at least 30 paces.
She did say that. And what's hilarious is her hair looks awful. Like, that, it's streaked. Annelle's hair. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Her character cracks me up because she's so awkward and quirky in the beginning, but, settles into herself a little bit more later into the play, to where she's even making funny cracks at Weezer.
She gets a jab at Weezer at the end, and they're all so proud, especially Clarice.
Another one of my favorite lines that Truvy says is she's talking about her son's girlfriend that had come around, and she said, well, the nicest thing I can say about her is that all her tattoos are spelled correctly.
That actually made the trailer. I rewatched the trailer again. Yeah. And I did. So I rewatched the trailer, not even just the one I said was in front of To Kill a Mockingbird.
And it is St. Elmo's Fire.
I can't believe it. I just don't understand.
That is so
How can you do that? Anyway. There's no such thing as natural beauty. Another good Truvy line.
I've got, some of these are serious and some of them are funny.
That's the interesting thing about this movie is they're all over the place. They're encountering really hard things, and then they would go there for a second, but then they would cut it with something funny.
Yeah.
Usually Clary.
It's funny that you kind of need each other, too, and that's in real life.
Sure.
Where somebody's bawling and then somebody will say something funny. You kind of need that.
Well,
it's what we need each other.
I think even friend groups kind of know, they're probably even eyeing each other, okay, so, deep one, get in here and offer some words of wisdom. Okay, it's gotten heavy, funny one, come in here and slice some tension.
Making eyes at each other. If somebody it's time for you to step up and do your thing. That's right. Gosh, I loved this too, this part. Truvy's having a conversation with Clary, and she says, she's talking about a Nell. I kind of like hiring somebody with a past.
Oh, yeah.
And Clary says, she can't be more than 18. She hasn't had time to have a past. And Truvy says, oh, get with it, Clary. This is the 80s. If you can achieve puberty, you can have a past. Well, that line hit me as funny when we saw the play.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, I was 19 when I watched the movie, so I probably didn't think that was funny at all. Like,
that's right.
What does that mean?
But man, yeah.
But watching it now, I'm like, that's right. How she hadn't had time to have a past.
Yeah. That's so funny. Oh man, yeah. They were really ready to have Annelle come in as the fresh meat in their beauty shop.
Give us the scoop.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're married. Like, it is so funny, that whole part. Do
you have any favorite scenes that stood out in either the play or the movie?
So I went back and, well, the line that stands out to me, very serious scene. In the movie, it's in the graveyard in the cemetery. In the play, it's in the beauty shop. Yeah. But it happens in both.
Yep.
I want to know why. And that whole scene, to me, and I could start crying just talking about it, we all have that.
Yeah.
Be it about a death of a child, death of a dream.
Why?
Or
why not?
I want to know why.
Yeah.
And I believe that very thing is what oftentimes causes people to walk away from God instead of run to Him when He so wants you to run to Him.
Yeah.
Because we want to understand.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I went back. So what was in my mind was just, I want to know why. Mm-hmm. That line really stands out. But I went back and looked to get the more in-depth quote.
Yeah.
Because I think the whole scene's so amazing. So as the mom, she's saying, I'm fine. I can jog all the way to Texas and back, but my daughter can't. She never could. Oh, God, I'm so mad. I don't know what to do. I want to know why. I want to know why Shelby's life is over. I want to know how that baby will ever know how wonderful his mother was. Will he ever know what she went through for him? This is what I felt like the brother was.
Absolutely.
This was actually what he was feeling.
Yes.
And so he's getting it out on paper as it's his mom.
Yeah.
But it's really what was in his insides when that baby said, Mama.
Agree. 100% agree.
I want to know why. Lord, I wish I could understand. Mm-hmm. And I just think we all come to those moments in life where we're like just screaming out. Mm-hmm. And
do you know, I heard from the playwright, I heard him say he didn't know where to go from then. Like when he was writing that, he wrote that, and then he didn't know where to take the next few lines. So he actually has a sister as well. And she helped into the scene, and she wrote the line about, I just want to hit something. And then they pull in Weezer.
Here, hit her! And again, you almost needed that to break the heaviness, because it is heavy.
Yeah.
And you just, then find yourself laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very intense, because she goes on to say, no, it's not supposed to happen this way. I'm supposed to go first. I've always been ready to go first.
I thought that was Oscar worthy. I really did. I'm shocked she didn't get, like, in that moment, that just sealed the deal. And the young lady, or the woman that we saw in the production here locally at the Pool Tight, she did a fantastic job at that scene. And those are some really, really big roles to fill.
Yeah. When really you're playing a role that Sally Field should have won an Oscar for.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask her, because she had real tears.
She did.
When she was doing it. And I really wanted to ask her, like, did you have to go to a hard place in your mind to do that? But I didn't have the courage to ask, because I thought, I don't want her to have to share something uncomfortable. But I really did wonder.
Yeah, that was interesting. Just happenstance, the way that we were seated in the theater, we happened to be facing her, because there was a whole, it was like L-shaped.
There was other times we weren't,
so there was a whole side of the room,
but we got
that was just seeing a profile or the back of her head, and we were 20 feet away from her, looking at tears running down her
bawling
face.
And trying to not have noise with it. Because that's how I cry sometimes, especially about heavy things. Whew, so that. And then there's another part that... Did you want me to keep going with...
Any other favorite scenes? Yeah.
So another scene that I love, it's Malin again. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, it's the hospital.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene.
I find it amusing. That part where she says, I find it amusing. Men are supposed to be made out of steel or something. I just sat there. I just held Shelby's hand. There was no noise. No tremble. Just peace. Oh, God. I realize as a woman how lucky I am. I was there when that wonderful creature drifted into my life, and I was there when she drifted out. It was the most precious moment of my life.
Yeah. See, and that was my favorite scene so I broke it down in favorite scene in the play and favorite scene in the movie. So that's my favorite scene in the movie, because you don't see that in the play. And that was tough for me to see the play without including any of the hospital scenes.
She says this line, though.
I know, but all of the time in the hospital.
Where she's doing physical therapy on her.
She's reading beauty articles. She's, showing her pictures of her son. Yeah. Like,
open your eyes, Shelby. Open your eyes. Yeah. Oh, God.
So, walking through all of these things, trying to speak life back into her. And then you can feel the exhaustion from the mom.
Yeah.
In the movie when you're watching. So I definitely missed that from the play, because that's my favorite scene where her mom has given her so much. Not just support. She's literally given her a kidney by this point that has now failed. Yeah. And so, and they say in the movie even that the kidney transplant is going to be much tougher for mom than daughter.
But yeah, she's had to.
So you just know the exhaustion and the toll that's happening on mom. And then, just...
very emotional.
Hour by hour, and she even says, at the encouragement of somebody, maybe even her husband, like, why don't you go home, get a shower, get a good meal. She was like, what if she wakes up?
It's that moment that she wakes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had quite a few health challenges myself where I had a mom that was like that too.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting that I was watching this in the theater with Mom, and I watched it again with her.
Yeah.
And just about a year ago or something. And she said, I never want to watch this again with you.
Mom's done watching Steel Magnolias. She's lived Steel Magnolias in many ways. Yeah. Not exactly, but... So I didn't pick a favorite scene in the play. I just wrote down, in general, that the beauty shop really drew me in. Mm-hmm. So, obviously the beauty shop is a component of the movie, but I wasn't as drawn in watching it in the movie as I was seeing it in the play. I felt their friendship.
Mm-hmm. It was like a home where they did so much life together.
Yeah. I felt even a desire or a hope on my own end of I wish I had a beauty shop like that to go to. I didn't think that when I was watching the movie, I wish I had access to Truvy's place. But I did want that when I saw the play. I was thinking, oh man, if Truvy had a beauty shop here in town, I'd kind of want to go.
Yeah.
So
and if it was Dolly Parton, the line would be so long we'd never get in. Well, one other funny line, because I want to also have some fun. On a funny.
Well, can I jump in before
you
do that? Before we leave the hospital discussion too, I did find this, and we talked about how this whole experience was for Robert Harling to get some healing. He was getting words out and emotions out on pen and paper. So we talked about that, but I had never heard this until we started doing research for this. So Robert Harling, he was, I guess, on set a lot while they were shooting the movie. They shot it in his hometown. So all these major stars.
Can you even imagine in a tiny town what that must have been like?
I didn't look up their population or anything, but running into Olympia Dukakis at the yogurt shop in Natchitoches, oh hey Shirley MacLaine, did you need any help with your whatever.
Yeah, I'm freaking out if I'm seeing these kind of stars.
So obviously his family's there. Robert Harling's family is around too. I mean, since they shot it in his hometown. Well, his mother was on set at the hospital. Harling wanted his mother to leave the set when they filmed Julia Roberts' death scene, but his mother insisted on staying so she could see Julia get up and walk away. I said, I can't believe you put yourself through that, Harling recalled saying to his mother in an interview with the Huffington Post. But Julia had become so special to my parents, she took some peace with that. Also, the nurses and other hospital staff seen in Julia Roberts' life support scenes are actual medical professionals who tended Harling's sister.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
Oh, how am I going to edit this? I was crying through all of it. I'll have to do some work, but...
Well, we just are real.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every time we're real, but this is just hits pretty close to home for a number of reasons. Yeah.
So, we did want to mention, well, you had some funny things
to mention. Just wanted to end funny, because this is like...
literally crying.
If somebody's driving to work and you're listening, I want you to laugh at the very end. And this is the scene that made me laugh. Clary is talking with Weezer.
Yeah.
And she says, you would be a much more contented, pleasant person if you would find ways to occupy your time. And Weezer says, I'm pleasant. I saw Drum Eatonton this morning at the Piggly Wiggly, and I smiled at him before I could help myself. She threw in a couple of other words that I didn't. But
Drum being Shelby's dad that she's been
that they
at
go
odds
back
with
and
the whole
forth.
film. Yeah.
I just thought that was so funny. I'm pleasant. I smiled before I could help myself at the Piggly Wiggly.
Oh my goodness. Well, I know we mentioned at the beginning, but do take a listen to that Garden and Gun podcast with Robert Harling. It's really good to listen to him talk about from his perspective.
But more importantly, see this movie
Absolutely.
Or play if you haven't, because it is the epitome of the Southern life. And
it is. And if you're a super fan and you're wanting to go on a road trip, you can actually visit the Steel Magnolias house in Natchitoches, Louisiana. It's far from here. I looked it up. I mean, it would be
quite the road
quite
trip.
the commitment. But it is the house where Steel Magnolias was filmed. It would be the home of
what would
Shelby.
have been Shelby's home, where they had their reception.
Yeah, and it's a bed and breakfast now, and it's actually named the Steel Magnolias house now,
so cute.
And they have each of the rooms are different character names.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, so that would be really fun.
That would be a fun road trip.
Wanting a girls' trip, and my guess would be that since this film, and obviously they've had 30 years to kind of shape up their town, but my guess is that there's probably a lot of information and
in
sort
the
of
town
stuff about the movie around town.
Well, I have a friend who's from that town, a new friend in my life. I've only known her just a year or two, but anyhow, she says it's a neat town, so
cool.
Maybe make the trip. We should make the trip at some point.
It'd be fun. It really would. Well, goodness, it's been a fun one, a tearful one, but a laughter one.
That's right.
As well. And we did want to make sure and do this episode because it's part of our namesake, and we love the film. We love what it means to the South and what it has said about and shown about Southern friendships.
And I had my first Easter egg hunt for my nephew today, and that's how towards the end of the movie,
that's how it ends.
What happens.
Life
so
continues.
It was
It sure does.
sweet thing.
All right, guys. Well, we hope that you have a great week, and please do share this episode with any friends of yours that you think might enjoy it. We have so enjoyed getting some feedback from you guys and hearing just all the different things that we're stirring up in your love of Southern culture.
So find us on social media and interact with us.
Absolutely.
We love that.
All right. Y'all have a good one.